Well, welcome back, one and all. It's a fresh day, a fresh week here at the Damage Report, a fresh, fantastic Monday with Francesca Fiorentini. Francesca, how's it going?
It's good.
You gotta wake up. Happy post-Mother's Day to the relatively new mommy.
Yes.
Your first Mother's Day.
Yeah, I know it was.
Everybody is super excited about you and your baby because you guys post the most adorable pictures.
Yeah.
So
I'm not yet famous enough to cover my baby's face. You know what I mean? I wish for that level of fame where I can be like, my baby is actually worth a lot, and we gotta cover it with a weird emoji. But no, give the people what they want, which is adorable baby face.
Yeah, I'm so conflicted on that, the covering the face thing. Like, I would almost prefer just don't post anything if it's about privacy. Because like, think about the psychology there. I'm not gonna show the baby's face because I want the baby to be private, but I'm gonna show the rest of the baby. But it is also my baby, so theoretically, like, if you were gonna kidnap it, would you need the face? You just take their baby. Like, also, I feel like they don't have a bunch.
What about the weirdos who are into like the back of babies' heads? You know what I'm saying? There gotta be those guys out there.
They love that soft patch. Oh man, it gets them hot. What is wrong with this episode of the Damage Report? I know, but you put it in my mind. Okay. Anyway, I feel weird, and if all of you don't yet, you soon will. So buckle up, strap yourself in for another exciting week at the Damage Report. We got a lot to talk about, everybody. There was supposed to be a big Trump rally in Iowa. He didn't show up, but his fans did. And you know who else did? Michael Shore and Asher. So we're gonna have some of the videos of them talking to Trump fans. We've got Joe Biden calling out white supremacists, an update on one of the most irresponsible moves I think ever by a YouTuber. That's gonna be fun. And we might have a three-way race for the presidency. And that's just in the first hour of the show. Coming up in the aftermath, so all of you on the linear platforms listening on the podcast, remember to go to the YouTube channel. You can see extra content that you might be missing every day. We've got concerns over non-binary transformers, how car manufacturers are looking to screw you over on a monthly basis, and news from around the world, and meanwhile, including some pretty amazing revelations from what's going on in the invasion of Ukraine. So you're definitely not gonna wanna miss that. But long before all of that, please hit the like button and share the stream so that people know we're live, they can get involved in the conversation. And if you would like to converse with us, you can do that, not only to perhaps get a little chuckle, keep us appraised of some breaking news, but also you might get yourself a Blue Apron gift card. So take a look at that. Anyway, with all that said, Francesca, are you ready to do this thing?
I
think now everyone in the audience is ready too. So thank you for that. And with that, let's do this. We are fresh off another Mother's Day, and I just thought, it's good to see other people out there that care so much about the mothers of the world as I do. We've got Donald Trump, huge fan of mothers, and he decided to commemorate Mother's Day with this post on Truth Social saying, "Happy Mother's Day to all, in particular the mothers, wives, and lovers of the radical left fascists, Marxists, and communists who are doing everything within their power to destroy and obliterate our once great capital C country. Please make these complete lunatics and maniacs kinder, gentler, softer, and most importantly, smarter, so that we can quickly make America great again."
Fresher, quicker, the quicker picker upper bounty. What?
Less high fructose corn syrup. So that is, you're probably wondering, well, Trump loves to do threaded bleats and do a bunch. So you probably think there's more coming. No, that's it. But why would there be more? That really covers everything that a husband and dad to 20 kids needs to say on Mother's Day is, "Happy Mother's Day," sarcastically, to the women related to the people I hate. You'll notice what might have been missing from that statement: any acknowledgement whatsoever of his wife and the mother of multiple of his children, Melania. He was so focused on talking about the people who are sleeping with the fascists and the Marxists. I don't know, they hate Antifa, but they also hate the pho. They also seem to be missing that many of the communists are also, can they be women? Can they be mothers? Apparently not to him. But anyway, he just didn't have time to acknowledge the mother of his children. I don't know why I would expect otherwise.
That's incredible to me. I think it's because Donald Trump understands actually that radical leftists, Marxists, communists, socialists, and anarchists have historically always put the lives of children and mothers ahead of anyone else really in this country. And then historically, the people who've been on the front lines of, let's say, eliminating child labor were radicals. Yeah, that's exactly right. The people who gave you the weekend with which you celebrated Mother's Day on a Sunday. Oh, there wasn't even such thing as a Sunday because you just work every single day of the week. Those were radicals, right? The people who gave you the 8-hour workday, those were radicals. And on top of that, the people who started Mother's Day in the 1850s, I believe, were radicals as an anti-war statement to say, let's stop sending our children who their mothers love so dearly. Let's stop sending our children off to die in a war for rich men. That's it. Yeah. So yeah, I think actually Donald Trump understands the meaning of Mother's Day and the fact that really it is us radicals who have the biggest right to claim, our pride in being moms.
You might be onto something, but probably not. But anyway, I like that. And look, I love that, this Mother's Day, we had I think I talked about in the pre-port, in 6 different continents, mothers around the world organized to try to get political leaders to do something about climate change because they considered it the largest single threat to their children. But everyone who might be willing to spend one day pretending they care about what moms have to say will ignore that. And our governments will go on about their business, I guess, how they were. For Trump, though, no acknowledgement of Melania or the other women that he's had kids with, or his daughter who is a mother, or his mother who is a mother. It's all just focused on attacking. What a sick way. And by the way, this is irrelevant. I don't really care about what I'm gonna say, but for all of the conservatives who think that family values and old school families, and we need to get back to all of this, and that's what it's about, and masculinity, and we have no data from which to say, but I want you to search your heart. What do you think he did for Melania yesterday? Do you think it was anything? Do you think he brought her breakfast in bed? Do you think he got her a thoughtful gift? Do you think that there was any acknowledgement of familial or marital warmth or intimacy? Or does anybody think that? Remember, Mother's Day happened to come less than a week after he was fined effectively $5 million for sexually abusing another woman. It was probably a cold holiday, is all I'm gonna say. Anyway.
Oh yeah, here's what you do if you're Trump. You go down to your gift shop at Mar-a-Lago and you wrap up a Trump t-shirt in just little pink tissue paper, but you're like, it's the thought that counts, it's a gift, look, and then but you're like, oh God, it's just re-gifting. It's either that or it's gifting her back something that you were supposed to return that you gave her 5 years ago and you slipped that one in. I know how this works.
Exactly. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that. Thank you to all of the mothers. That's what I'll say. Big fan. And especially the mother we have on the show today, Francesca.
No, but it's also it's okay. It's also a pitch to be clearly we had some faulty parenting happening. Clearly there was a little too big of a silver spoon in that tiny little butthole mouth of his. And I don't want to, first of all, we all know it's Fred Trump who screwed Trump up, right? Well, we all know Fred hurt Donald real bad. And I don't know, Mama Trump was somewhere doing something, trying to, get over the fact that she had married Fred Trump. But it's just, why do the worst people procreate is what I'm trying to say, except for you and I, Obs.
Yeah, obviously, well, we'll see how it turns out for me. You're doing good. Yeah, it definitely does seem like a curse of the Trumps. Can anyone imagine somebody marrying one of their men and feeling good about that experience?
Marry one of our men.
A month later. Yeah, I can't see it. Anyway, with that said, why don't we zoom out? It was supposed to be a big weekend for the development of the Republican primary for the presidency. You were gonna have Trump and DeSantis both in Iowa doing big rallies. That's not what happened. And we'll get into the details about why it didn't happen in a sec. But we decided to send one of our reporters, Michael Shore, epic politics man, Asher, amazing producer, went with him. And Michael Shore and Asher were able to talk to a number of Trump fans at the site of his would-be rally. And they got into a number of different topics. And I think that, like everybody was saying, no, you have to let CNN do the town hall because it's a reminder of what his base is. I am going to play these videos for you so that there are other ways to remind people of that. First, here is Michael asking some of the attendees, which poses a bigger threat to children, drag or guns?
What do you think is more dangerous to the country, drag or guns?
Drag, for sure.
How come?
It's poisoning the youth. That's what's gonna run our country. It's scary. But guns is my right.
What's a bigger problem for America, do you think, drag or guns?
Drag.
And why is that?
I would not want my kids to be anywhere around drag.
But what about guns and people, buying them and assault weapons and all the death it causes versus drag, which, let's face it, not a lot of people die from drag.
Well, then I think that's how people get mentally ill with all the drag stuff that's going on. Weapons are not gonna walk out of the house and kill people. People do it.
So following that logic, drag would make people sort of sick in the head and lead them to get a gun and do something.
I believe so, yes.
I believe that people should express themselves how they want, but in the privacy of their own homes. I don't believe that they should push it onto people. And for the question about guns, I believe that we should kind of stick to the Second Amendment.
Okay, so there's a lot, I think, to love in that. By the way, that last couple, the young couple, or maybe their brother and sister, I don't know, I don't particularly care. They actually later, when pressed, they were willing to admit that some gun control might not be a bad idea. So they did say that. They eventually sort of backed off of just whatever the Second Amendment is. And I think the woman in that final shot said something like, whoever's president should just decide. So that's reasonable or whatever. But I love the argument that they should be allowed to express themselves, but only in privacy. Don't push it on anyone, as they are covered head to toe in Trump. Like they seem to be big fans of expressing themselves and pushing things on people. But anyway, pretty much everyone seemed to agree drag is more dangerous. Even when Michael very carefully walks them down the path to, well, if that makes people crazy and dangerous, and then they'll go get a gun, wouldn't you not want them to get a gun? And they found no inconsistency there at all. What do you think?
I mean, it is interesting to see the way the young MAGA folks reacted versus sort of the like, oh, I have straight up been, Sauvignon Blanc drunk for 12 years now, and my husband is mostly on his boat, and I mostly just watch the five, constantly, and then reruns of the five, and then I stay up for Gutfeld. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain, forgive me, but brain deadness of the older MAGA crowd, and then the younger MAGA crowd is like, they're saying what their parents say, but they know it doesn't actually sound right coming out of their mouth, so they're trying to like sort of caveat it, like, well, I think the privacy of your own home, and then and like, yes, of course, when pressed around guns, it's like, yeah, kids, this is the #1 issue with climate change nipping at the heels of gun violence. The fact that kids don't feel safe in their own effing schools. So like, as scary as all that is, it's a little bit hopeful because I'm like, those young folks are gettable, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, they did seem a little bit more reasonable, and even like when they would just say like something like, I believe in the Second Amendment, like it very often, although I'm sort of undercutting myself, I was gonna say it didn't really seem like it was a super informed thing.
Sure.
Like they wouldn't then follow it up with, and here's why. But then the adults didn't either. Like why is drag more dangerous than guns? Because I wouldn't want my kid near a drag queen. Yeah, but that's just you saying it's bad again. You're not saying why. Why means something different than just repeat yourself. But look, a lot of people are busy. A lot of people don't have the time or the inclination to follow politics that much. They pretty much accept what is presented to them. The issue is that this is not a random sampling of America. Michael Shore was not knocking on random doors. These are people who are so into politics that they went to a Trump rally that he didn't even show up to. Like, they should be the most informed. They're certainly the most interested, and it didn't seem to come through in their arguments. Now, that said, they did talk about more than just drag and guns, although it will occasionally come up again. Here is their attempt to define what wokeism is.
Woke is accepting everything that is evil. So, for instance, monster cans. Each line represents a 6. So you got 666. And then if you look on the monster can itself, in the O of the monster, it has a cross, and it's got represents the Antichrist. So when you drink it, you've got the cross coming down, and that's
wokeism, yes, sort of in a nutshell.
Yes, in a nutshell, it's accepting everything that's evil as good.
If it were up to my granddaughter, she would be a dog, and they would be letting her crawl around on the floor and identify as a dog.
Wokeism, it's horrible. I mean, it's borderline mental issues, I guess I would say. I mean, if you don't know what you are and you can't see what's going on right now in front of our eyes, it's something's definitely wrong with those individuals.
What is it about wokeism that upsets a lot of the people that would be on these panels today?
Well, like you just mentioned, it's the ever-changing thing of it. I mean, you're constantly walking on eggshells, and you have no idea if what I say today is going to be acceptable in 4 years. I don't think it's okay to be ridiculing and getting upset at people for something they said 8, 10 years ago. And that's kind of the whole idea of cancel culture and the wokeness that it's been right now, is we're getting people in trouble for things that happened before these things were even wrong to do.
Yeah, quick fact check. The issue, and again, I don't want to get all woke, and me without my monster can. But those things weren't okay to do. They were wrong. You didn't know. Most people might not have known because their perspective and their position was privileged. That's the whole thing. It sucked then. You just didn't know or care. And I'm not targeting that guy. Again, like the young couple in one of the other videos we showed, they went on to say some stuff that was a little bit more reasonable than some of the older attendees at the MAGA rally. But the idea is that we are now learning, some people, and everybody has different things they need to learn about what never should have been acceptable. It is not changing standards. It's caring about what other people think when previously you did not.
Right.
And then of course there's the monster thing, Francesca. What do you think?
Oh God, I mean, the first two are just like, again, I'm sorry, but like these are straight up like daylight walking zombies, yo. I'm serious. Like, I don't watch The Last of Us, but I'm pretty sure those are them. That's who comes at you. But the young folks, again, and notice how they have a better answer around what they think wokeism is, right? Which is like cancel culture, right? And the idea that you are getting missed job opportunities for something you did 8 years ago, which to be honest, I think we can all agree is probably not a great thing to do, especially if you were a young person. But as you said, right, like I would disagree. I'd say yes, that of course the most impacted people by, by things that were okay, making like, I don't know, saying like the word gay in a derogatory term, but like a random adjective. People used to do that a lot. Like, why? Why would you even, why is it? Anyway, but before it was like, okay, that's, I don't know, maybe the Hangover movies would say that. Now a lot of those jokes wouldn't fly, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. I would just say it's okay to evolve. It's not that you condemn a movie. It's not that it's bad, but it's okay to evolve and say, things are different now, and isn't it great that we're all a little bit more conscientious of everyone, and that those jokes really stung and have real world impacts, and we kind of get that now, and we joke about different things now. And so but anyway, all to say, like, I do think it is interesting how young MAGA people come to the right wing movement, which is around this idea of like, you can't say anything anymore, as if they're all like Rob Schneider, Exactly, it's very funny.
Yeah, and I would love to just, I want you to slowly and specifically explain to me why your ability to say that something's gay is more important than millions of people's feelings.
Yeah, no,
you evidently do think that.
Right,
safety,
exactly.
Let alone all the stuff it leads to. Yeah.
Pick a different word, it's fine. And it's okay. Like you can still go back and watch a dumb movie from the 90s and no one's going to drag you for doing that. So again, it's just.
And by the way, it's all what people want when they take a position like what you see in that video is to be reasonable automatically. My position is common sense. It's like I am drawing a hard line where you're crazy because you're on that side of it, and I'm not crazy because I'm on this side of it. If you say that I can't say gay anymore, then you're unreasonable. Whereas I'm just using words that are still reasonable to use. Except there's not actually a hard line. Do you think that you should still be using the N-word?
Right.
Young man, you don't think that. And I bet we can come up with a lot of terms you don't think are acceptable to use that people who look just like you used to use. So why exactly should the line be drawn where you say it should be drawn rather than where the person who is woke should say it's going to be drawn? And once you acknowledge that we're just drawing it at different places, then you no longer are automatically right. It is an ongoing cultural dialogue around what is acceptable, which is what is actually always happening.
Yes.
You try to get out in front of that by using terms like politically correct and cancel culture, when again, it's not even consistent with what you're doing because those guys also thought drag was really bad.
Right.
Like if you think drag queens should get canceled for putting on a skirt or something, well then you clearly don't have the live and let live philosophy that you want to say you do when that is being used to defend your ability to call something gay or whatever.
Absolutely. You want to limit the freedom of the freest and most fabulous people among us. Funny. Yeah. I think and it is jealousy. It is absolute jealousy. It's like, look at how free drag queens are. I hate that. That my sort of again, my little tight butthole is feels like it's loosening, and I hate don't like that feeling. Ooh, oh my God, I'm gonna. This is like when somebody hugs me, and so that feeling is what they're fighting against. But anyway, it's a broader conversation, John. I just wish you're right. And I'm glad there was a little bit more conversation, and that we can talk about it because, I love the Klepper clips. I love, the sort of the gotcha moments with some of these, bigoted a-holes. But it's also it is nice to kind of have it all fall away and just talk to folks and investigate a little bit why they think what they think.
Well, and it's why Michael can do that job. Emma previously had done that for us quite often, is because he leads a little bit more than Emma, but he doesn't really inject. I would not be able to do that. I would get into a big fight and then I would be escorted out by the Proud Boys, which they ended up getting escorted out by the Proud Boys. By the way, I want to finish by just referencing the monster thing. Now, I understand that it is unlikely that I'm going to be able to get through to anyone who believes the stuff about the monster can that he does. So I am going to skip right past saying that I don't think that's what's on the monster can. It's pointless to debate that at this point. I will give that gentleman that those symbols are there, and they are there because of Satan. But I would follow up and say, so what is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to do? Let's say it is actually for Satan. I drink monster cans. Is it for infecting me in some way? Just what if I put, you know how Tom Riddle spells Voldemort when you mix it up? What if I made a Tom Riddle can and then that was secretly for Slytherin? So does he think Satan is scribing it on the can? Does he think that the person who chose the graphic design, who is presumably a Satanist, that means something, that he's actually magically connected to the Dark One? What does it mean that it's satanic? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. If I put an ancient Sith symbol, that doesn't do anything to you. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be drawn to the dark side of the Force.
I mean, what's crazy, John, is that you who love fantasy and and all that and sci-fi genres, you also don't believe that magic is real, but you want it. It is funny that right, I feel like you are an authority and other nerds like you are authorities when it comes to actually wanting magic. It's like, oh, your nerd ass would be the first one to be like, no. There's some real things going down with that monster logo, because you would nerd out over it.
Yeah.
But And it's so funny because at this point, like these are all just groupies, guys. Like this is the same thing as going to like a Swiftie tailgate and being like, so what'd you think about that re-record of the, the whole whatever album? I don't know enough about, and they'd be like, oh my God. And then, like these are just groupies. They are infected with, like MAGA, and that's it. And the difference is the political violence. And I wish we could replace MAGA with Swifties. That's it.
We're working to accomplish that. There was supposed to be an Iowa Trump rally. It was going to be this big thing. People traveled from all over the place. It didn't happen though. But despite that, Ron DeSantis was in the state and he continued campaigning, and that has led to some dramas. According to the New York Times, after headlining 2 successful political events in Iowa, Mr. DeSantis made an unscheduled stop in Des Moines, a move aimed at highlighting the fact that Mr. Trump had abruptly postponed a planned Saturday evening rally in the area because of reports of possible severe weather. There was talks about storms and possibly tornadoes. So he called it off. It was too dangerous or whatever, except that either wasn't true or it was exaggerated, or at least it didn't happen because tons of Trump fans still went and DeSantis did. His allies put out statements about the beautiful weather, and they consider it to be him kicking sand in the face of Trump because Trump is too scared to go, but DeSantis is the big man. He's willing to fly in or whatever. And then once he got there, actually, this was in Sioux City, he puts out this statement saying, "We must reject the culture of losing that has infected our party in recent years. If we get distracted, if we focus the election on the past or on other side issues, then I think the Democrats are gonna beat us again. And I think it'll be very difficult to recover from that defeat." So that is about as aggressive as DeSantis has been, saying that Trump is not only a loser, but he's contributed to the Republicans thinking like losers. And so Trump has responded, saying that Ron is not a winner. But then he gets into a theory that makes the monster cans are satanic argument seem reasonable by comparison. I want you to try to figure out what he is saying here. Here's what the message says: Rob DeSanctimonious and his poll numbers are dropping like a rock. I would almost be inclined to say these are record falls. The question is Rob, in quotation marks, just young, inexperienced, and naive, or more troubling, is he a fool who has no idea what he's doing? We already have one of those in office. We don't need another one. MAGA. So he calls him Rob DeSanctimonious. But then, and this is what makes it amazing, if he just called him Rob, okay, he's calling him Rob, it's an insult or whatever. But then he put the Rob in quotation marks like he's questioning whether his name is really Rob, which it isn't. He just made that up. Ron DeSantis has never claimed his name is Rob. So why the quotation marks? It's like he made a mistake and made up in his head that his name is actually Rob for Ron. And now he doesn't trust it entirely because he's got some sort of brain malfunction. And so he's now suspicious of the name he just came up with. He's the former president of the United States. I don't know what's going on. What do you think?
No, I think it's incredible that Joe Biden, he is old. He is a father time old, right? But like every day, Trump puts out statements like this that you're like, what? Old man in rocker who's clearly senile was okay. And we all just pretend, and especially Republicans, that he's completely fine to be their front runner candidate. Like, Rob, are you his name's not Rob. Is this a joke? What meme can we reference to understand you better? It is so scary. Like, there's nothing scarier. Yes, 2 very, very old men running for the presidency is scary. Now, one of them is a mealy-mouthed centrist, okay. The other is a crypto fascist or neo-fascist or just open fascist. Like the other one, like had Mein Kampf on his bedstand. Who are we going with here? You know what I'm saying? Like this is, again, like Trump is so envious of Putin. You know how Putin, everyone's like, ooh, like all his advisors, like it's not good, guys. It's actually really, really bad. His finger is on the button, and like that's where we're headed. And now, oh my God, we have a lot of time to talk about the 2024 election, but
yeah.
If you think Trump was scary in 2016, Trump with more senility is absolutely terrifying. There was something else
Trump
I wanted to say.
Holes in his brain.
Yes.
What's that?
Where we started out with this story. Okay, the weather stuff. Okay, I love that we're gonna get to a point in climate chaos and Republican denialism and sort of like, whatever, chest pumping, I don't know how to do it. And chest puffing that like, you're gonna have Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump vying for who can do a rally in the middle of a hurricane in Florida and be like, this is for all, like against the woke weather, and like that's truly where they're gonna be in the middle of a hurricane to a crowd saying that climate change doesn't exist. Like that's where we're headed.
I want a debate on a dock as the water is rising up and they're refusing to admit that the ocean is rising until they eventually just go under. I would love to see that. Anyway, we're gonna very briefly do one more topic. I know we're going over, apologies to producers, but we gotta play these last two sots. Donald Trump did not have time to go to his planned rally in Iowa. He said there'd be tornadoes, there weren't. He just, I guess, didn't want to go. But he did make time to call into a different rally. That was happening at Trump Doral. I guess he's making money off of that one, so he cares about it. It's the Reawaken America rally. Remember, reawakening America is a good thing. Being woke is the devil. But anyway, he found time to call in, and here's what that looked like.
Hey, Mr. President, can you hear us?
I can. I will say, General Flynn, he's some general, he's some man. He took abuse like nobody could have handled, and he came out bigger, better, stronger than ever before. We love him, he's a leader. And you just stay wealthy and healthy and well and everything. I want you to have great lives in general. You just have to stay healthy because we're bringing you back. We're gonna bring you back.
Okay, so that is him promising, whether he ever comes through on it, to bring Michael Flynn back to the White House. Michael Flynn, of course, pleaded guilty in 2017 to lying to the FBI, specifically about his backroom talks with the Russian ambassador. And he managed to stand out at this rally amongst all the other crazies. Roger Stone, Mike Lindell, Sidney Powell, they're all there. It's all your crazy friends. Remember, Michael Flynn not only pled guilty, did all this crazy stuff. When he was given a AR-15 on stage as a prize once, he then immediately said he was going to go find somebody in Washington, D.C. That was how he responded to being given an assault rifle, which is frequently used in mass shootings. That's the guy that Trump is gonna be bringing back. But before you jump in, Francesca, I don't want you to think that he was the only crazy. It gets even worse than him. Take a look at this.
There's wickedness attempting to completely cover this nation in perversion and seductive, seducing spirits. I have never seen more images of more mermaids and water people in my life. That's a division in the kingdom of darkness, and they're highly technologically advanced. And we have to understand what we're dealing with. And we have to understand the rules of engagement in spiritual warfare. And we are meant for hand-to-hand combat. And we are meant to bring our cries before the throne of God, to bring judgment on the rulers of darkness of this world and of this nation. Because the rulers have set up a throne in this nation. They've set it up. Darkness has completely covered and eclipsed the White House of this nation.
Yeah, it's not difficult to draw the line from the beginning of the hand-to-hand combat. That's a threat to go to DC and to kill Joe Biden. That's what that was. I mean, there was mealy-mouthed little like evasion and everything, but that's what that was. That was the prophet Amanda Grace. She calls herself a prophet. But anyway, she says she's never seen more images of mermaids who are highly technologically advanced. And I'm pretty sure she just saw the most recent Black Panther movie and thought it was a documentary. What do you think, Francesca?
Oh my God, I feel for Paul Ryan. Here in moments like these, I feel for Paul Ryan because that a-hole, he walked the entire, right wing into the mouths of Trump. He was there, like kissing his butt like everybody else. And then he just bowed out when he was like, you got it from here. I'll come back when like everything makes a little bit more sense. And now You got Prophet Amanda Grace talking about water people. And, MFers who just wanted to cut taxes for the rich and completely strip the poor of any food or, assistance. They're like, ugh, God, these people aren't serious, about just robbing from the poor like I am. Now they gotta talk about mermaids and water people. She clearly just saw she went to go see whatever movie she saw and saw an ad for The Little Mermaid. Yeah, she went to see Avatar and the water people. No, oh my God. Why are you like a dream that James Cameron had in the middle of the night? You just,
I know. Again, it's like with the other people, I just want to hold them and say, none of that stuff is real. I know that you think that we're really casting spells that we learned in Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not real. And it's weird that the people who desperately wish it was real have to explain to the people who don't think that it should be real, that it isn't real.
Exactly.
There's no Satan, there's no hell, there's no magic. It's not real. We're living a real life. There's no orcs coming over the hill. Put down your bow, Legolas. It's not real. Anyway, that's the rally that Trump called into. He was more interested in them than his base at the actual rally. Now, seeing that footage, looking like it's like 150 white men in khakis marching with masks, you might think that this is an event designed to make sure that people understand that COVID is still a threat and we should all mask up. But no, it's not. They're white supremacists. It's the Patriot Front, and they were marching in DC over the weekend. They made a specific carve out for masks so that no one would know who they are, because even they know how embarrassing and devastating it would be to their reputation for people to know what they actually believe and what they're really doing with their time as they march carrying shields and to a one wishing that they looked much tougher than they actually do. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they were marching and they did that. That's a thing that happened. If you want to be worried about what that represents for America, I understand that. But the right, the people who they are desperately trying to form a militia for, is trying to pretend that they're not actually on their side. The Trump train tweeted, "Do you think the Patriot Front march on the US Capitol in Washington was a staged event by the Biden administration to distract Americans from the southern border crisis? Yes or no?" Oh, these poor white supremacists, what are they supposed to do? They finally organize, they all bust to DC, They kind of march in lockstep, and then they get denied by their side. It's sad, you hate to see it, Francesca.
It's messed up. There they are protecting Americans from the Black Little Mermaid, all right? They're there on opening weekend saying, no, Hans Christian Andersen defended Western civilization in the water. And no, it's just so funny. I love the false flag stuff. It's just my favorite when they're like, I feel like we are months away from the right being like, does anyone else feel like Donald Trump is an op against the Donald Trump MAGA movement? Let's talk about it. Has he been in, that's really what they're saying. Everything, oh God, no, this is you guys. This is what you've done.
No, Francesca, I don't know. Is it a coincidence that Biden gave his white supremacist speech this morning and then just hours later, a bunch of khaki-clad federal agents? He just says they're federal agents. He doesn't have any evidence. He just said, no, every one of those is a federal agent because it needs to be, because they make us look bad. Can they be any more obvious with these antics? Every single right winger who listens to their media, who absorbs the message of you gotta kill him, you gotta kill him, you gotta kill him, you gotta kill him, goes out and kills them and then gets rejected. Those who are organizing to be like, look, we got people, we're willing to do the violence that you want us to do, gets rejected. I feel really bad for right-wing extremists. You just can't get any respect. But anyway, as they pointed out there, Biden did give a speech about the danger of white supremacy. Take a look at that.
White supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. There are those who don't see you and don't want this future. There are those who demonize and pit people against one another. And there are those who do anything and everything, no matter how desperate or immoral, to hold on to power.
And look, maybe it's not a coincidence that happened around the time of the march. Maybe the fact that we knew that they were going to be marching is a good time to bring up how dangerous it is. Maybe the fact that this isn't the first time that they've marched in a city, that they're not the only white supremacist organization marching in different cities. Maybe the fact that we see so many lone wolves and groups like this trying to intimidate people, trying to hurt people, trying to kill people, makes it something the president should talk about. Final thoughts, Francesca?
I just think it's incredible to be upset at that speech that was, not Biden's best teleprompter work, but and he's talking, he's at Howard University, I believe, and I think that it's good that he, I guess, is talking about white supremacy, but honestly, I'd rather have Biden talk about white supremacy to white people. Yes, there are white graduates at Howard University, but it's a historically black college. So I'm like, you say that, but again, and say it loudly, say it clearly, and say it to white people. Old white man who we've deemed safe enough to like take this country from MAGAism to like a more acceptable, slower burn of, fascism. Like, what are you doing about it, buddy? And so I don't know. It is disgusting to see the Patriot Front as always, but they're nerds. They're race nerds, and they're gonna do it. They're gonna be out again and again and again, and then pile themselves into U-Hauls, and then be like, no, like you put the keys in my khakis. Oh, I changed before we got. And then they're gonna be locked in a parking garage. We know how this ends.
100%, yeah. I like him talking about it. I'm glad that he's talking about it, and he can do it there. But to me, and look, I get that I'm a cynic. To me, talking about it there makes me think, and there's, I think, other reasons to think that this is like what he does in elections. Yes. He like wants to reassure young people. He wants to reassure people of color that he's got their back, so that they go and vote for him, which they do overwhelmingly and have saved his butt before.
Yes.
And then will he actually deliver? I don't know. Like if he was talking about it in other contexts, it would reassure me that he really means it rather than he's just bring it up. Then again, it is something that he's talked about before, so we'll see. But I understand your concern. And again, on that group before we close, like they had to have had a conversation like, is this really the best we can do? Because this just doesn't look great. It doesn't look intimidating. I mean, sure, they're white supremacists, and all of them are desperately looking for enough chaos that they can get away with acting out on the violent impulses that they feel. But just visually, like talk to some cosplayers, talk to drag queens. Like there's a lot of people that just have way more like pizzazz. I don't know. I just don't think they're doing their best. Anyway, we have to take our second break of the hour. When we come back though, one of the most irresponsible acts by a YouTuber in history. We'll give you the update after this.
It was a sensational moment. A propeller stops in midair. Then this awkward dive out. Then a plane crash suspiciously caught on camera from several angles. But this crash was apparently no accident.
No, it wasn't, and we're learning more about it now. Do you remember YouTuber Trevor Jacob? He's the guy who was forced to bail out through no fault of his own from the plane. Anyway, he made this video out of it, by the way. I crashed my airplane, which at this point, as of right now, has 4.1 million views. Not bad, considering that devastating thing that organically happened to you that you happened to catch on cameras, since many were mounted on it. In any event, people instantly thought, no, he definitely did that on purpose. And that became increasingly clear as time went on. But now we know more about why exactly he did it. And it isn't just for the obvious reason to get views on that video, to get clout and all of that. No, he has since pleaded guilty to 1 count of destruction and concealment with the intent to obstruct a federal investigation. 1 count of destruction. That is such an interesting crime. A crime that carries a maximum penalty of 20 years behind bars. Now, in a statement after the crash, back then he said, "I'll happily say I did not purposefully crash my plane for views on YouTube." And he's not exactly wrong. He did not just crash it for views on YouTube. No, apparently he had intended to use the video for a sponsorship deal with an unnamed company that made wallets.
Oh God.
Wallets, everyone. Defendant intended to make money by promoting the wallet in the video that would depict, among other things, defendant parachuting from the airplane and the airplane descending and crashing. How exactly you organically put a wallet promo into that? Do you do it like mid-jump? Do you do it like as you're trying to unlock the door, you're like searching in your wallet for the key? I don't know how you do that, and no word on if he ended up getting the sponsorship.
He did?
I don't know, no word. We don't know. Did he get the money? I don't know.
The wallet broke his fall, or the wallet had the parachute in it. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways.
As a parachute?
Absolutely.
No. Anyway, he didn't respond to a request for comment. And look, it's kind of funny how petty like the reasoning behind this was, but the actual thing is not like light. He crashed an airplane. Like that is highly dangerous. He then went and like hauled it away and lied about not knowing where it is. That's part of where the obstruction comes from. But this was an incredibly dangerous thing to do. There's tons of irresponsible stuff that YouTubers do. I hate the vast majority of it, but it's difficult to come up with something I think more dangerous than this. That it didn't kill anyone, it didn't hit someone's house, it didn't start a fire or something like that.
Yeah, but that grind set mindset, all right? This is the, you got to work. You got to one up it if you're gonna survive late stage capitalism. It's just so sad, right? Like this is where we are in our clickbait hell world, where most people are doing, we do this, but we try to do it semi-honestly. Like at one point, maybe just throw me out of a plane for clicks. You know what I'm saying? Bitchuationroom.com, everybody buy some merch. No, join the Patreon, watch the podcast. But it's just a little bit like this is where we are. Like in the future, YouTubers who've crashed planes are going to be running for office.
Yep.
And we're all gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Reality.
Yeah, I don't like it. Can I ask a really stupid question before I move on to my final point? It doesn't seem like enough views for all the trouble. 4.1 million views. I mean, look, that's more than most people would get on a video or whatever, but like there are some stupid videos on TikTok that required no thought or work whatsoever that have way more than 4 million views. You went to a lot of trouble and might spend decades in prison. I just feel like you didn't get a good return on the investment on that.
Well, who knows? Maybe there's a whole story unfolding. Like, yeah, my 30 days in prison. This is what I ate. This is my food.
He only did this so he could get thrown in jail, and that's only to get a sponsorship with a jumpsuit manufacturer.
Yes, it's a long con.
Maybe, yeah, 100%. Anyway, but I will say, I assume this is not going to long-term work out for him in terms of his career or anything, but it never ceases to amaze me how much other YouTubers, and like I say YouTubers, but I mean people, can get away with, and it doesn't hurt them. Like I watch wrestling these days, and Logan Paul wrestles sometimes. He is admittedly talented as a wrestler, but he's a terrible guy that's done terrible things. He's conned his own viewers. Like it's just so weird how much people will apologize for, even when it's victimizing them, just because they like the person who went out of their way to abuse them for money. As a society, we have to start to develop, I think, not even just higher standards, minimal standards for what we will allow influencers or whatever to get away with. Michael, I can't see, I'm not entirely sure how much time we have left. I can't see if you're giving me signals. I'm gonna assume that we're out of time, everyone. But thank you, those of you watching the linear platforms, listening on the podcast. We do have a lot more to come in the aftermath though, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Iadarola. I'll see you soon.